Hey everybody, we're back with the Tuesday night stream, continuing the Resident Evil marathon. Playing Resident Evil 2, and we're playing it on the Dreamcast now that my Dreamcast capture setup is finally done. That took a lot of work. Well, that's the thing, Bane. Going to be spending a lot of time in 1998. Because it turns out a lot of things happened in 1998. I mean, what have we got? 0, 1 and Remake, 2, 3, Code Veronica, Outbreak File 2, Survivor, which is canon. It's looking a little darker on the feed, actually, than it is on my TV. Let me see this. It's just looking too bright. Contrast, maybe? Saturation. Okay, so it should be coming back. There we go. Yeah, if the Resident Evil marathon continues, we'll be visiting 98 quite a few times, Bane. So how you doing tonight, buddy? Let me get that volume. That's coming through kind of loud, actually. Yeah, that's alright. So you can tell we're playing the Dreamcast because the Dreamcast has this unique special option with a gallery. You can watch all the CG movies you've seen, which is apparently just this one. Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Not all of these are available from the start. I think you unlock them by beating the campaigns, and the only campaign I've beaten on Dreamcast so far is the Claire A campaign. But you know, this is pretty neat. Dreamcast also has its exclusive Expert and Nightmare difficulties in the Arrange game. The DualShock PS1 version and the GameCube version only have Rookie mode. And we also have hard mode in normal game, which I think is exclusive to Dreamcast. So what we're going to do is regular game. Yeah, you know, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to bother with Nightmare mode, Bane, but if I am, it's going to be on my own time so I don't embarrass myself with it.
It was later revealed that the terrible disaster had been caused by the T.A.r.s, a mutagenic toxin created by the international enterprise Umbrella Incorporated for use in bioweapon experiments. The Raccoon City Police Department's Special S.t.a.r.s unit immediately began investigation in the affair. The case was apparently closed, thanks to the efforts of s.t.a.r.s members Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. But the Umbrella Corporation's experiments were far from finished.
So here's a fun bit for the Dreamcast. Console-wise, the Dreamcast is the only system that plays RE2's FMVs in full screen. On PS1, 64 and GameCube, they're all in like a letterbox format.
What have we got here?
So the way we're actually running this now, after all the trouble we've gone through to try and get the Dreamcast set up with a decent visual output for the capture, is we have the Dreamcast connected to a VGA box. That gives me the option of VGA or S-video at the flick of a switch, which is really nice, because not every game on Dreamcast supports VGA output.
Man, what could have done this?
Connected to the VGA box is a VGA cable, which is hooked up to a VGA to HDMI upscaler. And the upscaler is the important part, because the capture would not pick up the VGA on Dreamcast, because it runs in 640 by 480. And the Elgato, because I use two Elgato capture cards. I have the Game Capture HD and the HD 60. And they will take 720 by 480, it will not take 640 by 480, which is irritating.
Wait! Don't shoot!
Get down! We can't stay out here. Head to the police station. It'll be a lot safer.
And so the upscaling is important. The previous conversion I had was a standard VGA to HDMI adapter, which came through looking really nice on the TV, putting out at 480p. And the Dreamcast games look really nice that way. But the Elgato couldn't pick it up. Now we're on a converter, which I picked up on eBay. It's really nice.
First day on the job.
Nice little piece of kit, actually, and that is hooked up to... We're on an upscaler. That is hooked up to the VGA, to a HDMI signal, and into the capture card, which is how we're currently capturing and streaming this.
Hey, could you open the glove box?
So with any luck, this will be like the best you've ever seen Resident Evil 2 on console.
Better take it with you.
If you're going to go to the trouble of modding the PC version to run at modern resolutions, then the PC version is like the best. But yeah, that's a lot of time and effort for that, and I've got other ways to play Resident Evil 2 anyway. Fun thing about the upscaler as well is it's not just a VGA to HDMI, it's also a component to HDMI. So I ordered some component cables for the PS3, and I've hooked those up to my PS2, and I've hooked those into the upscaler. And so now we have like the best picture quality possible on PS2 as well. So we'll be getting to some of that later. But yeah, we're going to do Leon A, Claire B, because I've been doing Claire A, Leon B for a while now. Last time we streamed this, because it's the second time we've streamed Resident Evil 2 on the channel. Last time I did this, we did Claire A, Leon B. We'd actually... if we'd had the upscaler sooner,
Freeze!
I would have been doing RE3 on Dreamcast as well.
Human.
There is one discrepancy I have with this, though. It's like the character models look really nice, but then you compare them to the backgrounds, and the backgrounds still look fairly blurry.
What's going on in this town?
And there's not really much you can do with that, because the backgrounds are pre-rendered images. You can see a bunch of similar stuff on more modern systems. The Xbox One has backwards compatibility for a bunch of 360 and original Xbox games. One example in particular stands out to me in my head, and that is Knights of the Old Republic. If you play that, it looks really nice. They've got the resolution really nice. The text, the character models look really sharp. But images and textures, there's not really anything they can do with those because these are small texture files. Come on, can I get through? Yes. And so, like, the most obvious example in KOTOR when you're playing that on Xbox One is the character portrait when you're creating your character at the start. The character model next to it looks great. The character portrait is full of artifacting because it's been blown up way past its original. You say that, Bane, but then I'll go and pick up the handgun ammo in the bus. And so the good news with this is RE3, less familiar with, because I've neglected pretty much every Resident Evil that isn't 2 for a long time. RE2, I'm good with. So you should be seeing some actually decent play here. Hopefully. You know, let's cross our fingers. That's intentional. Gets her dead quicker. And that gets us past, because we are actually going for the costumes. You're right, that is the same colour, isn't it? See if we can get through this area. This is always like the trickiest area on the way to the police station. Alright, it wasn't a bad placement of zombies. Well, I'm loving just how good this game looks on Dreamcast. Because I've played this a bunch of times on GameCube. Hey, Brad. And honestly, on GameCube, I've not seen it looking this good. I should probably give it another go, actually, on GameCube. Get a more recent comparison in my head. The biggest advantage the GameCube version offers over the Dreamcast, though, is skippable cutscenes. Because, like, you can skip the FMVs here, but you can't skip the in-game cutscenes. But in the GameCube version, you can, so if you want to speedrun it or you want to practice it, GameCube's the way to go. Unless you're doing, like, the modded PC version.
Oh, man. Who are you? Oh, you must be the new guy. Leon. Sorry, but it looks like your party has been canceled. What happened? About 2 months ago, there was this incident involving zombies in a mansion located in the outskirts of this city. Chris and the other s.t.a.r.s members discovered that Umbrella was behind everything. They risked their lives to reveal the truth.
But no one believed them.
Not long after that, all this started to happen. Hang in there. Don't worry about me. Just rescue the survivors in the other rooms. Here, take this key card. You should be able to unlock the doors in the hall with this. Now go. But just go.
Fine. But I'm coming back for you. Just hold on.
Alright, so I guess the objective for the early game is technically to get back into that room. Alright, so we'll see how this goes. I am a little less familiar with Leon A than I am Claire A, but it is mostly the same. It's the B scenario where a lot of the changes come in. So let's see how well this goes. Okay, make an instant turn to the box and put a few things in there. And by a few things, I mean the knife. We tried to make it work in RE3, it didn't work, and we're not trying it here because I know it won't work. So I actually picked up a Dreamcast for the first time this year. And, you know, I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Loads of stuff on the Dreamcast that's really interesting. Even if it's just a port of a game from another system, if it's on the Dreamcast, it's pretty interesting. So one feature that's kind of neat that I might have mentioned before is if I look at the controller in my hand with the VMU in it. Okay, since you've jumped, oh, 2 leaps? Oh, that's good. Never had that happen before. But if I look at the VMU, which is the memory card that goes into the controller on the Dreamcast, with Resident Evil 2 and 3 and Code Veronica, it gives you your current ammo and health status, which is really nice. So if I look down at it now, I have 18 bullets left and I am currently fine. Which is all well and good, but of course I have 18 bullets left. I just reloaded and I've not been hit yet. So of course I'm fine. This one corner always gets me. So how's this looking on stream? Is it coming through really nicely? Because like it's coming through really nice on my TV, and the preview looks decent, but I'm not spending enough time looking at it while I'm playing the game. So what do you think, Ben? Does this look nice? Like not just the quality of the stream, but like the visual quality of the game. Because like, I don't think you've got a Dreamcast, so I don't think you'd have played this version. And it's like, you know, why would you when you've got the PS1 version, the GameCube version, and if you're going to pick up another version, it'll probably be the 64 version. You bugger. Oh wow, her arm fell off. You don't see that often. You're still alive. Oh yeah, visually it is a higher quality than the PS1 version. Although if you check out the GameCube version, that also has more detailed character models. See, this is the problem, because we were doing Resident Evil 3 yesterday, and the second option in Resident Evil 3 when checking something in your inventory was combine. And so I've gotten used to that. And for me, the Dreamcast version has turned out to be like the most interesting version because it's got stuff that isn't in other versions. And the same's true of the Dreamcast version of RE3, which I want to spend some more time with at some point. Because like, I've got the GameCube versions, and the GameCube versions are fine, they play fine, they look better than the PS1 versions. But then this version just, it looks better than the PS1 version, but then it's got extras as well. That said, like, the visual quality of it through the VGA cable was a big surprise. Because I think I mentioned I actually beat Resident Evil 2 for the first time last week on Dreamcast. I did the s.t.a.r.s scenario last week. And it looked, like, really good. And I was really surprised at it. But there's various places where characters are stood against backgrounds, and the characters look really nice and very sharp, but the backgrounds look really blurry. Which, like I say, is the texture versus character models. Texture versus 3D models, because like the doors look really sharp and really nice. But then the actual textures on them don't really look any different. Chris's diary. I've gone to Europe. Unicorn medal.
Leon!
Hey, Claire.
It's good to see you're still among the living. It looks like we're not gonna find your brother here after all. There's no reason for us to stay any longer than necessary. Let's split up, look for any survivors, and get out of here.
Look for the survivors in the other rooms.
Right.
One last thing. Here's a radio. Take it. That way we can keep in touch if anything happens.
Oh, see you, Claire. So as far as I remember, the pathways through the police station are mostly the same for Leon A as they are Claire A, with the exception of, instead of going to the chief's office, you go into the basement sooner, because Leon's exclusive area is the cells in the basement. Let's see. It's like the last time I streamed this game when I was doing it on PS1. And the result was basically like, where am I going? I don't know where I'm going, I don't know why I'm going. And the problem was I was thinking too much about it. So if I stopped thinking about it and just let my instincts go with it, I know where to go with this. Oh, god damn it. So the big complaint I have with the Dreamcast controller right now, though, is the wire comes out of the bottom. And I hate that. Go. Like, I hate it specifically for the way I hold controllers. Generally, I hold controllers like semi-vertical, maybe like 45-degree angles, with the bottom facing me. And so the wire ends up being curved right round because of that. And so because the Dreamcast controller has an awkward design, a bit of a concern for me that, oh, it's going to end up breaking the wire sooner or later. This should be the spade key, which will get us further upstairs. Let's also go say hello to Brad. See, I'd board the windows up, but there's not enough boards in the police station for that. Sounds very quiet out here. Hey, Brad. See you, Brad. Special key. You say that, and it's a good thing that we're not doing remake, because you'd be confusing the crap out of me. Because I get a lot of stuff with the remake and original Resident Evil confused all the time because of how similar it is. Thankfully, I have RE2 and RE2 make separate in my head. Okay, so play our cards right. This will be the last time we go through this corridor. I think the question you need to be asking yourself, Bane, is why does Brad have a key to two clothes lockers in the police station? One of which just has what is essentially kind of a cowgirl outfit for a girl. There you go. We'll never have to deal with that liquor again. As far as canon for RE3 goes, we don't know if Jill takes the card or if she goes and finds her own card. Alright, let's get some use out of this. Two outfits. So Claire gets a special gun. Leon gets two outfits. But he does also get a benefit that you're probably not going to see if you're either playing on Leon B or if you're watching somebody play on Leon B. And that is that he holds the gun sideways. And the reason it's a benefit is because Leon actually shoots slightly faster when he's holding his gun sideways. And the reason you're not likely to see it in Leon B is by the time you get one of the costumes that lets you do that, you're probably almost about to get the custom handgun parts. And from then on, Leon doesn't hold the gun sideways anymore. It's also the issue that I haven't got any small keys, which means we can't get the custom handgun parts yet. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I like that the other gun, the gun that Leon gets in Leon B, does make him hold the gun sideways. I didn't like that you got less ammo for it, and that it used a specific kind of ammo. I've got problems with Leon, with just the second scenario in RE2 make anyway. And a lot of it comes down to the second handgun for both characters. I mean, the second scenario... No, I don't want to push that left. I want to push it right. The second scenario is harder anyway, but then they make it artificially harder by reducing how much handgun ammo you get, which I don't like. And the game says the new handgun ammo is more powerful, but zombies take a random number of shots to take down anyway. Or what feels like a random number of shots. Especially when you spend most of your time aiming for the head. Also, a little thing here. Look at the window in the top right. And now look at it in this screen. I have no idea why the glass is missing here. And it's just in that one screen. There's the other cop that I shot a few times that I should probably finish off as well. You know, it might just be me, but I feel like the, that's the third time I've done that. I feel like the damage done to the bodies on zombies is actually way more in this game. I don't remember specifically if it happened in the PlayStation version, but I've had it happen a bunch of times during the Dreamcast version. Bear in mind, this is my second playthrough on the Dreamcast. Okay, put this away for a while. Grab these. Alright. This is a small key. Which... I'm gonna put back in the drawer in the chest, because I don't think we're gonna be coming back to the other side yet. Anytime soon. Yeah, that's another point. It made the standard handgun, the standard gunpowder, kind of worthless in the second run. Alright. Well, like, Scenario B's harder in the remake anyway. And they make it artificially harder by giving you a gun that has less ammo available for it as your main weapon. I didn't like that. I thought that was just outright bad design. And it's really my biggest complaint with the remake. Because it leaves me not wanting to do the second scenario. Zombies are inside. Oh. Alright. Oh. I knew that was going to be too risky. I should have let the other one wander out a bit further. If I remember rightly, isn't that the only room the crows actually appear in this game? Alright. Is it B scenario? You get the bullets from there. See, that's what I mean with stuff like I get remake and the original Resident Evil confused in my head because of the similarities of them. I get a bunch of stuff between Scenario A and Scenario B mixed up in my head, along with Claire A and Leon A and Claire B and Leon B. Alright, so I need to get the diamond key. That's a cheaply placed zombie. One thing I do like about Leon A versus Claire A is you can put these both in as soon as you get here. With Claire you have to come back because by the time you get here you're only going to have one of them. See, I was actually thinking you were being serious about something there, Bane. And like, in case you don't forget, need the jet. It's like, wait, what? Oh no, it's remake 2. Damn it, Bane. Grab these. So this should be a somewhat interesting playthrough because beyond having to keep the differences. Okay, just stand there, it's cool. Beyond having to keep the differences between Claire A and Leon A separate in my head. Yeah, this will be the better way. It's been a while since I've gone at the A scenario bosses with Leon's weapons. Alright, so we will be going back through that hallway right now, actually. Because going through the upstairs to get to the other side where I need to use the diamond key means I can grab the custom handgun parts. And I shouldn't have reloaded my gun. It means I can grab the custom handgun parts on the way. I was actually intending to mix this up a little bit, the Resident Evil Marathon. Rather than going from doing a bit of Resident Evil to RE3 to RE2, my original intention was to mix it up a little here and do a later Resident Evil just to be a little more varied. Go. But Come on, come on. Well, I got the VGA set up. And like, I figured out what the issue was, because I mentioned in the RE3 stream yesterday that was having a sound issue with the new upscaler that I got. It turns out with the old converter I was using a 3.5mm jack to RCA cable to get the dual audio, and I was trying to do that with the new one. But what the new one actually supports is 3.5 to 3.5. So it was checking a different place for the audio was the issue. So now I thankfully have an aux cable available. So we're using that now. And this is the custom handgun. And the big reason why you spend the ammo you have before you upgrade it is you get a full clip free when you upgrade it. Similar to the RE4 trick of not upgrading upgrading a weapon's capacity when you have no ammo for it. No. Shotgun shells, yeah. It's not a bad idea. The problem would have been I would have gotten confused. I mean, we've already seen that I've gone to check the gun instead of reload it a bunch of times. And so I would have gotten confused between the slightly different mechanics of both games. Which would have been a real problem going back to RE3. Rest in peace, Marvin. Damn it. Because you know that it would have happened. I would have messed up, and like that's not a point you want to be messing up at in RE3. Yeah, I want to go up the ladder because I want to grab the shotgun. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the window where there's the one screen where the glass is missing. I mean, my best guess would be that at one point it was intended to have the liquor that shows up here later break through the glass. But that never actually happens. So I'm not sure what the idea was. Alright. Yeah, the idea you put forward being not a bad idea. But I would have gotten really confused with it, and the point where you resume play as Jill is not somewhere you want to be confused about the game mechanics. It is possible. Give me the handgun bullets. Just run over here for a minute. Get rid of the key. I mean, the 1.5 stuff's always interesting. You know what might not be a bad idea, actually? Custom handgun with knife. Because you can reliably get a zombie on the ground with the custom handgun. Yeah, I know the code, Bane. Come on. This game's my jam. I know this game. Yeah, you can reliably get zombies on the ground with a 3-shot burst, and then if you followed up with a knife, you could probably save a good amount of ammo with it. The question really is whether or not that would have any real use. Mostly because if you know what you're doing, the ammo you get in this game is way more than enough. But yeah, 1.5's an interesting concept in itself. And it's interesting to go back and look through some of the stuff in 1.5, because I don't think there's been another example of a game we've seen so much of. Because that 1.5 being almost complete. Come on, go down. Damn it. Figures that would be the shot it wouldn't get stunned on. RE5 being 1.5 being almost complete means that a good amount of it was shown off. And so it's one of the only examples I can think of a game that was completely scrapped and reworked that we saw so much of. And it's like, you can go through a bunch of different games that went through a bunch of iterations before they finally came out. Like 2 Human or Resident Evil 0 is a good example of its original Nintendo 64 version. And we've seen stuff of that, but the most we ever saw of it was in the lead up to Resident Evil 0 HD, when Capcom just straight up released footage themselves. What would it have been, like 15 years? 15 years after the game originally came out on GameCube. And so it's always fascinating to see changes in games like that.
Sorry about that. When I saw the uniform, I thought you were another zombie.
Who are you?
Ada Wong.
And what are you doing here?
I'm looking for some guy named Ben. He's one of those reporter types, always looking for a scoop. I heard he was locked up in the cell block, only there's a wrecked car barring the entrance. I've been trying to find another way inside.
Yeah.
If we work together, we can move this thing. Give me a hand.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's any other example of a game like 1.5. Although it's interesting to see just how many times Resident Evil's done that. Shown footage and pictures and gameplay of stuff of games before that idea was scrapped and they did something else entirely. Like there's the original RE2, now 1.5, there's various incarnations of Resident Evil 4. There's that one trailer of RE5, which was pretty early in development. And like there's two big differences I see with it. From like I think it was the announcement trailer. And there's like two big differences I see between the announcement trailer and the final gameplay, and that's one, you don't have a co-op partner, and two, there are far more enemies in the trailer.
Let me guess. You must be Ben, right? Get up, now!
What do you want? I'm trying to sleep here.
Is this the guy?
Ben, you told the city officials that you knew something about what's been going on, didn't you? What did you tell them?
And who the heck are you?
I'm trying to find my boyfriend. His name's John. He was working for a branch office of Umbrella, based in Chicago, but he suddenly disappeared 6 months ago. I heard a rumor that he's in the city.
I remember when I saw the trailer for RE5 and there were so many enemies, and I thought to myself, this looks like it's going to be a really hard game.
Okay,
Because how do you deal with that many people?
Does anyone know where they put the key to this cell?
Well, the 64 is an interesting example because a lot of games, well, I say a lot, there's a good number of games that were cancelled for the 64 and moved to GameCube for the development.
What was that?
And it's quite interesting.
Like
See, I've never heard that. I've heard that Resident Evil on Game Boy Color was cancelled because it didn't meet Capcom's standards,
Left alive in this building.
which
Look, if you want to live,
is fair enough. I mean, if you've ever played the ROM,
But do you
which
even
was
know
dumped,
how to get out of the
there's like 2 different ROM versions of
There's
it.
a kennel in the back of the
It's impressive. Technologically, it's very impressive, and it captures the aesthetic of the original surprisingly well, but it plays terribly. And, you know, maybe I'll see about picking up the ROM for the original Resident Evil. We'll take a look at it for the Resident Evil Marathon. Either that, or I'll end up in one of the new segment, in an episode of the news segment I'm doing, which is weekend one-offs. I actually got a few of those in the works, and you can get through them and actually get the editing and uploading done for them. But regardless, like the ROM hack, not the ROM hack, the ROM of Resident Evil 1 on GameCube on Game Boy Color that's available, while impressive, isn't something you'd want to do a full playthrough of. And more than that, it's something you can't do a full playthrough of. Because I don't think either version of the ROM that exists has the ending. Like, the game was never finished. Like I said, there was 2 versions of the ROM that came out, and the first version showed a bunch of stuff. The second version, I think, is playable up to the lab, and might actually... I think you can play in the lab if you hack it. With a bit of ROM hacking. And it's interesting, but it's not something you want to spend much time with. Well, the interesting thing I've always thought about, particularly the end product that RE4 became, is like once you get out of the village, it feels very disjointed. And it's like, make no mistake, RE4 is an excellent game, and it's impressive just how well the game holds together, considering how much of a mess it is. But like, the village is the only part that's really got a coherent, consistent tone. Because both the castle and the island are all over the place in that regard. And of course, you've got the version of Resident Evil 4 that became Devil May Cry. And Devil May Cry also took a couple of ideas from Onimusha as well.
My name's Leon. I'm with the RPD. It's a dead end.
You think we can get upstairs through this shaft? Give me a boost. I'll go and check.
Alright. Dogs. Well, yeah, I mean, as far as the early versions of any of the games go, it's worth remembering just how little we actually are aware of any game's development, really. I mean, it's a fairly recent thing with game development being more transparent with stuff on Kickstarter. And that's only because, like, you know, these people paid for the development of this game. Want to try and make them happy in some way so we don't get horrible publicity and backlash. And stuff like Bloodstain. Bloodstain's a fairly decent example. Had a surprisingly transparent development cycle. Regular updates and stuff like that. And there's got to be other examples, but Bloodstain's the only one I was actually aware of because it's a game that I was actually interested in. Pretty much every other Kickstarter game that's come out was only interested after it came out. Stuff like Shovel Knight, which, like, I don't think I even heard. I might have heard of the game in passing when it was in its Kickstarter phase, but when it came out and it was excellent, that's when I became interested. But, like, mostly just because of how little we know during game developments. You never know just how much has been... Oh wow, that water's actually really clean in this version. You can see straight to the bottom of it. What was I saying? God damn it. It's stuff like, consider Wind Waker and the scrapped features from Wind Waker. Like, we know, I think, 2 temples were scrapped.
Ada, did you find anything?
And there were suggestions during the during the lead up to Wind Waker HD that, oh, what if Nintendo went back and put those temples in the game now that they had the chance to go back and redo it. And it was
Ada, wait!
Nintendo were like, no, we actually put the elements from those in later Zelda games. Oh. See, I heard the reason that they moved from the more supernatural horror idea they had for Resident Evil 4 originally to the result they ended up at was because they felt the supernatural horror was not Resident Evil enough. I was under the impression that the push for a more action-oriented game that became RE4 was because Remake and Zero didn't sell that well on GameCube. And so they thought that it was like, oh, I guess people just aren't into this anymore, maybe we've pushed this too far. And it turned out, no, people weren't buying Remake and Zero because you put them out on GameCube, and it turns out the GameCube didn't sell that well. Where is the liquor? Is it over here? Because if it is, this is a really dangerous place for a liquor to be. Yes, I love the GameCube. GameCube is one of my favourite consoles. Possibly, it's in the running for my favourite console ever, really. But you have to accept the GameCube did not sell well. And it's a shame because it had some excellent titles, some excellent exclusive titles. But it just didn't make... Wow, that actually worked out a lot better than expected. Didn't make that much of a financial splash. And that's the funny thing as well, because like we've already done Eternal Darkness, and you know what, I'm going in here. We've already done Eternal Darkness, and I remember seeing that Eternal Darkness didn't sell as well as might have been hoped, and the suggested reason for that was that it came out around the same time as Resident Evil Remake, and that people were going for the IP they recognised. Plus, you know, Resident Evil Remake had a pretty solid advertising campaign. Getting a lot of shotgun shells, but I feel like I'm not getting enough handgun ammo. Oh yeah, I do really think that if Resident Evil Remake had been on PS2, it would have sold probably really well. I mean, RE4 is a really sad case, because RE4 could have probably sold more GameCubes. Because RE4 came out, and RE4 was a fantastic game that everybody was talking about. Because, like, you gotta remember just how big RE4 was when it came out. And it could have sold more GameCubes. Could have maybe extended the lifespan of the GameCube a little while longer. I think a big part of the reason why it didn't sell more on the GameCube is before the game came out on GameCube, Capcom has said, yeah, we're going to actually release this on PS2 in less than a year. It's like, oh yeah, the game's coming out in January 2005. Before it comes out, Capcom turns around and says, PS2, November 2005. I've heard interesting thoughts about why Capcom moved to GameCube for that generation for the main series. I think the biggest reason I heard was that Shinji Mikami just outright hated the PS2 because of its architecture. And if you know anything about the software development and how the hardware's involved, the PS2 is a nasty piece of kit. It had some excellent titles on it, but it was a massive pain to develop for because of its architecture. I'll put this, let's say here. I can put you away because I'm not going to need you yet. I'm going to dump both those keys in a minute anyway. Alright, boys. I don't think the time frame had too much to do with the failure of Remake, because effectively Remake does feel like a fairly new game. If anything, if you want to go down that line of thinking, which, it's not unreasonable. Rather than it not being long since the original game coming out, my thought would be Capcom re-released the original Resident Evil so many damn times. Let's not forget, there's the original version, there's the director's cut, there's the DualShock director's cut. I remember by the time DualShock director's cut version came out, people were, like, reviews and stuff were getting tired of the game, with like the biggest criticisms of the DualShock director's cut version being it's just Resident Evil again. Well, I don't know. I think RE2 Make was successful for several reasons. Time being a factor, but not in the way you think. Because at this point, we've kind of reached a point where there used to be a lot of horror games, and there isn't so many big AAA horror games anymore. God damn it. There isn't so many big AAA horror games anymore. And so RE2 Make was filling a starved niche. And beyond that, the trailers did a fantastic job of demonstrating the appeal of it. The Resident Evil brand has a lot of recognition. Resident Evil 7 had brought people back after Resident Evil 6. Like, I think you could have released Resident Evil 2 Remake in 2008. Like, 10 years after the original. I think you could have done that, and it still would have been really successful. But I think the timing of it, making it as successful as it's been, is less because they waited and more because of the climate at the time. I will say though, like, for the GameCube, like, you say you picked one up in 2008 for Remake and Zero, it's like, it's good choices. Having the GameCube at the time, I wasn't so much into the idea of Remake and Zero. I didn't get Remake and Zero until years later. RE4 I was really interested in at the time. And I think, like, going into 2005, there were two games I was really interested in. Because this is back when we were getting game magazines. And there were two games I was really interested in back in 2005. And it was Resident Evil 4 and Twilight Princess. And the whole thing with Twilight Princess was getting worse. Because they just kept delaying that game. And honestly, the way that ended up was ridiculous. Because they ended up delaying Twilight Princess just so it could launch with the Wii. And it's possible Twilight Princess could have pushed the GameCube's lifespan a little longer if it had come out earlier. God, I remember at the time I was trying to pick up a copy of Twilight Princess for the GameCube because I had no interest in the Wii. And beyond that, like, I didn't have money for a Wii. And at the time, it was like, I want Twilight Princess for the GameCube. It's like, okay, go out and find a copy. Nowhere had them. Yeah, Twilight Princess on the GameCube was so damn hard. Even these days, Twilight Princess on GameCube's kind of pricey. It's not the most expensive game, but it's kind of pricey. That said, I look at my GameCube collection, and there's a bunch of games there that I have that are really solid, and I am really glad that I managed to play when I was younger. For a couple of reasons, including that they are expensive now. Don't forget the crank. There's like Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. Great. It's got its problems, but I enjoyed Metal Gear Solid. And because I got a GameCube, I didn't get to play Metal Gear Solid 2. And so here's the remake for Metal Gear Solid. There we go. So here's the remake for Metal Gear Solid with a bunch of the gameplay innovations from Metal Gear Solid 2. It's like, cool. I love Metal Gear Solid, and being able to play it like Metal Gear Solid 2 is really cool for me. Crystal Chronicles was really cool, although I only got to play the multiplayer for that a couple of times. Skies of Arcadia Legends, which we've been over several times, is one of my favourite RPGs ever. And it's like, good luck getting hold of a copy these days. And beyond that, what else is there on GameCube that is hard to get hold of these days that I'm glad I played as a kid? I mean, if there was one game that I would have loved to have as a kid for the GameCube that I didn't, it would be Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. For two reasons. I didn't play Fire Emblem until Shadow Dragon on the DS. I would have loved to go into that series earlier, especially at a more impressionable age. And that game is like the most expensive GameCube game now. Well, the 64 has its gems. The biggest problem with the 64 these days is going back to it is really difficult because of the visuals. Not so much the graphics, because you can go back to the graphics fine. Generally, the visuals. The Nintendo 64 is not a good-looking console. Its video output is not good. The controller is not good, especially if you didn't grow up with it. And third-party support is really down there. It's got some interesting third-party games that are worth playing. A lot of its best stuff is first-party. But like one thing the GameCube has undeniably over the 64 is the third-party support on GameCube. If you got a third-party game on Nintendo 64 that was also on PlayStation, chances are you were getting the weaker version.
Almost got the story. Ben.
GameCube, honestly, I think the GameCube's really worth going for several reasons. It has more exclusives worth having than the GameCube did, than the 64 did.
Get that scum.
The controller's really good.
Make
A lot of the third-party games that were also on other systems play best on GameCube.
my chest. It's burning. What's wrong?
Good God, what was that?
Copy of Mail to the Chief. Brian Irons is a horrible person. Here's some money. Keep things quiet for us. Buy yourself something nice.
Where are you going, Ada?
To the chemical plant. I have a feeling that's where I'll find John.
Yeah, like if I'm playing third-party games in that generation that are on GameCube,
Do you read me, Claire?
chances are I'm playing them on GameCube.
Got it.
I'm getting out of here and heading to the sewer. Can you meet me there?
I'm on my way.
Yeah, if I'm playing a third-party game that's on multiple systems that generation, chances are I'm playing it on GameCube. Mostly because at this point I don't have an Xbox anymore, and the PS2 versions of third-party games tended to be the weakest. It's like Resident Evil 4 on PS2 has more content than the GameCube version, but visually is weaker. Although, you know, make no mistake, RE4 on PS2 is fine. It plays fine. Alright. As far as the Wii goes, the only reason I think having a Wii is worth it is it's easier to pick a Wii up than it is a GameCube. And it has full backwards compatibility with the GameCube. Yeah, I think it's worth exploring more of the GameCube's library, both for its exclusives and for its third-party content. It's been a while since I've seen this. See, there's another good example. Killer 7, better on the GameCube than it is PS2. Part of the Capcom 5 that Resident Evil 4 was also part of. What else is there? Beautiful Joe is an interesting example. It's another game, another one of the Capcom 5, but like RE4, while it's better on well, it visually looks better on GameCube, it plays fine on PS2.
What was that all about? Running off like that?
But, yeah, there's other stuff. The GameCube's worth exploring.
Those zombies are everywhere. Not to mention that thing that got Ben.
I was there, Leon. I know.
Look, Ada. As an officer, it's my job to look out for you.
As far as its exclusives go, you've got stuff like the Rogue Squadron games are fantastic.
Okay?
Right? We'll do
Super Mario Sunshine's really solid. Wind Waker is excellent. Twilight Princess is also really good. Like, Twilight Princess gets a lot of hate, but I think Twilight Princess is still an excellent game. I mean, it's a theory I've put forward a few times. I'm not sure if I've ever done it on the stream or the channel. Theory I have that generally, if a game in a series that is considered to be excellent produces a game that is even slightly below excellent, it's treated like the worst thing ever. But Twilight Princess is really solid. Smash Brothers, of course, Smash Melee. Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes is worth a play, especially if you're a fan of the series. Eternal of Darkness, which we've already done, is worth a playthrough. Of course, there's Skies of Arcadia Legends, one of my favourites. What else is there? A bunch of people really like Star Fox Adventures, and I never got into it. I tried. You know, I think I mentioned it actually during. During something. Either a playthrough was gone up, or is going up, or is going to go up. I'm sure I've mentioned it at some point for the channel. Star Fox Adventures is a game I was playing as a kid, and I got really far, and then at one point I ended up in a dead game. Because there's a village that is behind a locked gate, and once you get into the village, you have to finish whatever's going on in the village. And what I did was the gate's open at that point, but what I did was I left, I went back to the hub, I think, of the planet. Went back to the hub of the planet, saved the game, and when I went to go back to the village after reloading the game, the gate was shut and I couldn't get it open again. And at that point, it was dead game. Because what I needed was in that village. So, you know, I have a bad opinion of Star Fox Adventures for that, but I've heard a lot of people like it. There's that. There's Star Fox Assault, which, depending on who you ask, is either decent, but not as good as 64, or is another one of the worst things to happen to the series. Like I say, there's a bunch of third-party games that play better on GameCube. You've got stuff like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is solid on GameCube. Sonic Heroes on GameCube plays better than the PS2 version, which has major glitches.
Identify yourself.
And a worse frame rate. And lower quality textures.
Ada Wong. Ada Wong. I've heard that name before. Now I remember. One of the men from Chicago who came to assist the team.
Yeah. Really, what it is, you have to discover for yourself what there is on a console to make you like the console. And there's always the possibility that there'll be nothing there for you.
What? John's dead.
Like, honestly, the Dreamcast I got as a whim more than anything. I bought on a whim and I didn't expect to get too much out of it, because there's some interesting exclusives, like this D2, which I'm kind of interested in, this Illbleed.
It's capable of creating the ultimate.
But a lot of the best stuff for Dreamcast was ported to other systems. Like Skies of Arcadia was ported to the GameCube as Legends. Crazy Taxis on God knows everything now. Shenmue and Shenmue 2 have been re-released in HD at this point, if you want those.
None of this would
Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 are on GameCube. And also other systems now. Code Veronica was re-released as Code Veronica X.
This way.
And so the Dreamcast was really a system I was kind of like, why did I buy this after I bought it? But then, I've spent more time with it over the past few months. Like, and, I really enjoy it. And specifically, I really enjoy the versions of games that I've played on other systems on Dreamcast. Like, we're not just playing Resident Evil 2 on Dreamcast because it's... Oh, it's Dreamcast, who plays it on Dreamcast? It's got some cool extras. No, we're playing it because I like it on Dreamcast. I like playing the Dreamcast now. So you gotta really... Like, people can tell you systems are great, but you've got to really find a reason for yourself to actually appreciate the system.
Hold on, darling.
It's like the Wii gets a lot of hate.
Stay here.
But there are people who do still love the Wii for some of the games it's got, and it does have some decent games.
Alpha team, have you retrieved the sample?
Xenoblade Chronicles is really well...
Roger.
Excuse me. Xenoblade Chronicles is really well regarded. Pandora's Tower, The Last Story.
Me that he injected the G virus into his own body?
Some people like Twilight Princess on the Wii, the Skyward Sword.
What was that? Something's wrong.
Every console has its fans. You will just have to find a reason to be a fan. If you can't find a reason, then maybe that system isn't for you. I mean, that said, this is really an argument for older systems because these days there's very little to set systems apart.
What is this thing?
I mean, you've got exclusives on PS4 and on Xbox One. The Switch has its own exclusives, but the Switch is doing something completely different anyway. And if you're after playing games that are on other systems on Switch, you really kind of have to look into how they run on Switch, because a lot of the time they won't run as well, and you don't really want to get them there unless you have any other choice. If you have any other choice. But the older systems generally had more that was unique to them.
Even worse.
It makes going back to these older systems and being a fan of these older systems a lot easier than it is of being a fan of a particular system these days.
And create offspring. No. Too bad.
And, of course, like, one of the biggest problems with trying to start enjoying an old system these days is the price of stuff. But, if you've watched the Let's Play I did of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, my views on playing through old systems that way have been pretty... I don't think there's anything more I could add to that. I play it how you can. There we go, the wolf medal. There you are. You know, one interesting thing I found out about Resident Evil 2 on the Dreamcast when I was researching a bunch of the differences between RE2 and RE3 on Dreamcast and every other system, particularly GameCube, is both RE2 and RE3 launched at a lower price point on Dreamcast. Which is interesting, especially when you considered, like, Resident Evil 2, 3, and Code Veronica on GameCube, if you look up reviews from the time, got like fairly poor reviews. And part of the reasoning was they're just the same games, again. But a large part of the reasoning for the score was that Capcom put the GameCube versions of RE2 and RE3, which were PS1 games, on GameCube. They put them out at full price. That's what I'm saying with me being glad that I got a bunch of GameCube games when I was younger, when I was playing GameCube as a kid. And like I say, like, you can see how clear the water is. You could see the crocodile, or the alligator, whatever it is. You could see it under the water. See how much cleaner the water is on this version? There's like, I say, if there's one game I wish I would have been able to pick up as a kid, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, because that game is so expensive now. And it's kind of surprising that I never ended up with a tactical game as a kid. On any of the systems. I think like the only tactical game I had access to as a kid was Vandal Hearts 2, and I never played Vandal Hearts 2 as a kid. I still haven't played Vandal Hearts 2. Well, of course, Final Fantasy Tactics was never released over here.
Leon.
This bullet wound is...
I didn't get Fire Emblem until Shadow Dragon on the DS.
Leon, I'll patch you up.
I didn't play Tactics until Advanced 2 on the DS.
That's 2 I owe you.
Don't mention it.
Oh, come on, Ben, you can do that. You can do better than that.
I just found out. John's dead.
I mean, let's not forget. You know what? I say let's not forget. I've never said this before. But we're going to make this an unofficial motto of the channel. Whenever you can do a Schwarzenegger quote, you do a Schwarzenegger quote. And the Schwarzenegger quote for that is, your luggage. And now that I'm going to make that like the official rule of this channel, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch a load of Schwarzenegger films to make sure I can make quotes as often as possible. There, let's get out of the sewers. You know, they should really do like a Schwarzenegger movie marathon on Twitch, just so people can enjoy Schwarzenegger together. It's like you've got stuff like the Bob Ross channel that's always playing Bob Ross. Twitch plays. They there's a Pokemon. There's always a Pokemon marathon every weekend on Twitch. There was the Power Rangers marathon, of course. And it's like, you know what, do a marathon of Schwarzenegger movies so everybody can enjoy Schwarzenegger movies together. And do not skimp on the bad ones. I'm not saying, I'm saying, no, don't just do the good stuff, the stuff that we all remember, like Conan the Barbarian, Terminator 2, Eraser, True Lies. I'm saying, like, really get in there. Give us stuff like Twins and End of Days. And The Sixth Day. And for the love of God, Last Action Hero. It's like, if it wouldn't get me banned, I'd do it myself. So if I stand here... Oh, Leon, don't aim over there. So if I stay here, I think he should just keep coming through this hole. There we go. Yeah, you got Junior, you got stuff like Kindergarten Cop, which... Oof, Kindergarten Cop. It's weird. Kindergarten Cop is weird because it starts off like a traditional Schwarzenegger movie, and then it becomes Kindergarten Cop, and it's like, whoa, this is different. Jingle All the Way. Who is your daddy? We're gonna play a game. It's called Who is your daddy and what does he do? But like, there's loads of great Schwarzenegger movies that you can take this stuff from. Alright, 5 shots. Too far. Shotgun parts. Two shots. Of course you do. You gotta remember those 80s classics like The Running Man and Predator. Come on, buddy. I don't think I've ever seen a zombie be that slow in this game. You know what? Let's not make it. Let's not make any forgivenesses. The Running Man is a bad movie, but it is such a great movie. There we go. So let's throw the valve in the bin. But yeah, like Running Man as a movie is kind of a bad movie. Why do we like the Running Man? Because it is like one of the best examples of Schwarzenegger. And of course, there's Commando. We can't forget Commando. Here is Sub-Zero! Now! Plane Zero! And of course, Jesse the Body Ventura in that. God. I need to take a drink. My throat's killing me. If we're going to keep doing Sub-Zero, if we're going to keep doing Schwarzenegger quotes. Drop Dead. I don't do requests. Total Recall. How could we forget Total Recall? It's like my second favourite Schwarzenegger film. I mean, I'm contractually obligated to love Total Recall because it has Michael Ironside in. That's why Highlander 2 gets a pass. Because, like, Michael Ironside's in it, and Michael Ironside is just ridiculous in Highlander 2. Love it. Come on, Corhagen. You got what you wanted. Give those people ear. I love this music track. Ooh. Yeah, I love the Magnum, but for this fight in particular, my god, I'm missing the grenade launcher and just how fast Claire is with it. Alright, now don't reload. I should rewatch Total Recall. I watched a remake a little while back and... God, it was one of the most pointless movies.
Come on!
It had no ideas of its own.
Come on!
Tried to push... tried to push its own little plot that it had going on, but then felt it had to still do the original plot as well, which means most of the movie goes on up until it's like, oh yeah, no. Also, the twist from the original movie that was actually a really good twist in the original movie, but means nothing here. Every time somebody says 2 weeks, I'm always like, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Something to treat that wound. so just rest here in the meantime.
I have to actually stop myself from doing it now.
I'll only slow you down with these injuries. Go. Save yourself.
I told you, it's my job to look after you.
But you'll be in danger if you stay with me. I know I've only known you for a short period of time, but I really enjoy being with you. I know I'm not capable of caring about anyone, but I don't want to lose you.
We're leaving this place together. Wait here for me. I'll be right back.
Let me just grab everything in this room because I'm actually never going to come back here. So, you know, I've gotten barely any handgun ammo in this game, but look how much shotgun ammo I've been getting. Leon A is crazy. Yeah, I don't think I need anything else. Alright, let's go. You know, this room also has a neat little touch that I don't think I've ever noticed in any other version of RE2, and that's this fog that hangs over the room. I don't think I've ever noticed a fog like this in any other version of RE2. Alright, we're off. You know, let's see if I remember the route through the lab for Leon A. If I remember rightly, it's almost exactly the same as Claire's route, except you don't have to go back into the lab at the bottom. I don't know what it is, I just love the way Resident Evil 2 and 3 render fire. I just think it's neat. That was close, actually. I shouldn't have ran when I entered the room. Pretty sure that's not actually English on the door there. Vox cap? No. Alright, now for my least favourite enemy to deal with is Leon. I didn't put the fuse in. I'm a genius. Get off me. Oh yeah, it's that guy. It's corner freeze. Like, if you're gonna use Schwarzenegger quotes in a way that fits whatever context you're doing, that one is one of the hardest to do. Because it specifically requires you to kill somebody with an ice cream cone. Knew it'd be that one that I've missed. Yeah, let's dump some of this. You know, I don't feel comfortable with how much ammo we've got there. Actually using the Magnum as our main weapon here. It's really the difference between Leon A and Leon B. By this point in Leon B, so much Magnum ammo. Magnum parts. I love how the custom shotgun takes out zombies when you aim upwards. So we're going to kill everybody in this lab just because of that. I love that sometimes it actually leaves one of the arms. Sometimes they've got one arm, sometimes they haven't got an arm left. I love it. Alright, now back up to the top. We're not doing the fingerprint thing because we saw that when I streamed Claire Alien B on PS1. And as we know, it's worthless. Completely forgot about that. I was busy thinking about something else. I was actually looking at the feed and thinking, you know, since we're actually going through the upscaler for 1080p, we're actually getting the UI, we're actually getting the interface elements like the chat on the preview on the feed, and the bottom left of the feed there like that. We're actually getting those in the proper quality as well. Versus how they've been looking during the previous PS2 feeds when the stream's been like 480, 480i, I think, 480p. Where they've come across as blurry for some reason. Oh, come on! Hate the Ivies. See all the interface elements coming out really clean. I'm happy with that. Make sure none of these guys get close to me. Let me get closer. I don't think that took out the guy behind him. No, I didn't. Oh, I guess it did. The Mo disc. Gotta have Mo disc. Can't even examine the vaccine machine.
You murdered my husband. I know what you're looking for. You came for the T-virus, didn't you? You'll never take it from me. This is my husband's legacy. Now, where's that spy you were working with earlier? You know who I'm talking about.
What?
You really don't know anything, do you? You're so gullible. She's one of the operatives sent here by the agency. The only reason why she came here is to obtain the G-Virus.
That's a lie.
No, it's the truth. I discovered this when I did a background check on her. She specifically got close to John and became his girlfriend to get information about Umbrella.
How do you know all this? She posted it on a live journal.
Ada wouldn't do something like that.
98. What would they have had in 98? Live journal's over. I don't think it's that old.
About to die any...
AOL profile?
What happened?
Oh. You doing okay there, innit?
The self-destruct sequence has been activated.
Nah, boy.
The self-destruct sequence has been activated. This sequence may not be aborted. All employees proceed to the emergency car at the bottom platform.
Can't even examine her.
All employees proceed to the bottom platform. All employees proceed to the bottom platform.
Leon.
You know, it was really nice of the self-destruct sequence to shut up while this cutscene happened.
What are you doing?
You know what this is about, so just hand over the G-Virus.
I don't believe this. Annette was right. About everything.
That's why I told you to leave without me, but you wouldn't listen. Now hand it over. Don't make me shoot you.
Don't make me destroy you.
Ada!
Ada, wait!
Ada, I've got you. Don't give up.
G-Virus. Leon, it's over. Just let me go.
Shut up. You're gonna make it.
It's too late, Leon. Both know it.
No.
Well, no, it just looks like you were shot in the shoulder.
You just have to help me out here.
I really wanted to escape.
I mean, considering you were walking around with the wound you took from G earlier, that's probably fine, maybe bandage that up a bit, but you got a shot in the shoulder. I know shoulder shots can be fatal, but, like, we get you up, okay, you're gone.
Ada!
See, this is why I prefer the scenario system in the original over the remake. It works out differently, depending on which scenarios you do. Whereas one of the remake's biggest flaws is that both scenarios are effectively the same. What do you mean, what made her do that? When did she ever give you an impression that she didn't want to do that? Like, let's be fair, the first time we saw her, she was shooting at Ada. Seriously. Come on, man. Alright. So there should be some zombies in this room. That's a badly placed zombie. Okay, I want to drop the Mo disc off here. Then before we go into the final fight, I want to go and get some stuff from the box. It's more convenient doing this in Claire A because you come past the... you have to go through this room anyway to get the vaccine for Sherry. Okay, so I'm going to put that there, there, take this. Okay. I was considering saving those bullets in case, but I think I'll need the extra healing item more than I'll need the extra 4 magnum bullets. Take the shotgun just in case. Alright. Let's finish this. It ain't a Resident Evil play on this channel if we're not running into walls. Five minutes.
5 minutes until detonation.
Detonation. Alright, let's do this. Three shots from the custom Magnum. Now this is where it's going to get nasty. God, I hate this fight. Is he gonna get me when he jumps down? That's the question. Yep. Oh no 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 no. Come on, get up, get up. Jeez. See, as much as I love classic Resident Evil, that was stupid. Much as I love classic Resident Evil, the series was never designed for fast-moving bosses. And like any fast-moving boss becomes, like, depending on how much damage it can do, becomes totally down to luck. Alright, let's go. And that's Leon A's scenario, as Leon A of Resident Evil 2. Hey, Claire. I love the full screen FMVs that you get on the Dreamcast version. It's weird that no other version does that.
it's over.
No. I have to find my brother.
You're right. This is just the beginning. Goodbye, Ada.
So yeah, it was Leon A on Resident Evil 2. It is interesting just how much is effectively different in the story compared to Claire A. Leon B. It's one of the things that I think really helps Resident Evil 2 maintain some replayability, and something I do think was lost with the remake, which we'll get to at some point. But, you know, I've said my thoughts on Resident Evil 2 before. It's a solid game. If I'm coming back to the series, it's usually this one. What time are we at, actually? Not bad, actually. We'll be back to Resident Evil 2 on Thursday with the Thursday night stream, continuing the Resident Evil marathon to do Claire B. We'll see how that goes. Because like it's been a little while since I've done Leon A, because I usually go for the canon run of Claire A, Leon B. It's been a little while since I've done Leon A, Claire B. Leon A, not so much of a concern. Claire B is a little different because the B scenario is harder and Claire doesn't get the same weapons Leon does to deal with it. What did we get? What was our time, actually? Nice. 1 hour 41. Happy with that. I think that makes up somewhat for the E rank on Resident Evil 3. Of course, that said, you know, who really cares about rank on Resident Evil 3? If you're going through the game to do it quickly, you're doing it to do it quickly, not to get a rank. Because the rank gives you nothing. God damn it, let me put it in the other one then. Tell you what I don't miss, memory cards. Notice there's no you can play another scenario if you make a new save data thing. See if we have everything for the gallery now, actually. Claire. That looks like a hybrid somewhere between Claire and Elsa Walker. That's an interesting outfit. That's Claire straight up wearing the Elsa Walker gear. It's neat. That's very flannel. I like that. That looks closer to her remake gear. I like that. Ada, the jacket concept art. Huh. That jacket reminds me of Yoko, actually. Alternate costume Sherry. That fits a lot better. This is very Japanese schoolgirl. That looks a lot better for an American thing. Annette. Marvin. Made in Heaven, of course. Let Me Live on the back of Claire's alternate costume. Left to right, Annette. Sherry, William, Leon, Marvin, Claire. Although I say that looks... No, that's Elsa Walker. And then there's that Kendo, Ada. Chief Irons on the far right. Who's the guy with glasses? There's got to be 1.5 concept art. Huh. Chief Irons looking a lot less villainous. Zombie. Vomiting zombie. Fat zombie. The fat cop actually doesn't appear in this game, but they put him in Resident Evil 3. Interesting. Zombie spider. Far more obvious that it's a zombie spider there than it is in game. Birkin, that's G1. That looks like something Mike Mignola would draw, actually. The alligator. Some sort of bug person hybrid. The RPD main hall looks a lot more like it does in a remake. That's interesting. S.t.a.r.s office. Stairway at the side near the safe room. Is that S.t.a.r.s corridor? The corridor with the boarded windows. Dark room. Safe room. Chief Irons office. Oh, I wonder where that's supposed to be. The clock tower. That's interesting because that doesn't add up with any location. The factory, perhaps. The cable car. The sewer. So that's fascinating, all this stuff, actually. That's really cool. Who returns in the remake? That guy with glasses? And the Dreamcast has this unique options screen. I'll show you what each button does. So that's really neat. Oh, the fat zombie police officer. Well, they had a lot more variety in the zombies in the remake anyway. But specifically for like this time period, this kind of engine, they didn't use the fat zombie in this game. They used him in RE3. But yeah, they had a lot of variety for the zombies in remake. So it says fighting foes is not the only way to survive. But you can kill everything in the game. It's been proven. You can kill every enemy. And you'll survive. You'll have enough ammo. You'll still have enough ammo left over. What was your plan there? But I think that's going to call an end to the stream for tonight. It's a little bit earlier than usual, actually. But yeah, we're gonna call an end to the stream for tonight. We'll be back on Thursday with Claire B. Might want to actually get a bit of practicing on that. We'll see. Because like I say, Claire B is... If there's any scenario in this game that worries me, it's Claire B, because she gets less... her weapons are not as effective with dealing with Mr. X. Really not. So we'll see. The Resident Evil Marathon will continue. We're back on Thursday, 8 PM GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. I want to thank everybody for watching, everybody who joined the stream. I really always appreciate the support. Special thanks to Bane in the chat for keeping me company. I always appreciate that. Thank you, buddy. Yeah. So yeah, the Resident Evil Marathon will continue on Thursday, probably with Claire B. I might put that off a bit, get some practice on that off screen, and do a different Resident Evil, mix it up a bit. Mostly because I go at Resident Evil 2 with a certain mindset, and that mindset is, I don't need to say it because I know this game. And that could potentially lead to a problem with Claire B. So I get a bit of practice, make sure I have a strategy down for Mr. X every time. And we'll see. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support. Have yourself a fantastic time of day, and take care.